Hello, everyone, and welcome to Guildmaster Gaming. Today we got a special treat because we got Pat Hogan back with us. Pat is someone I've had a chance to talk with before on our interviews here. I've also had a chance of reviewing a number of his films that he's done and seen a lot of his work, things that he's done for other festival goers and other aspects. I'm sure everybody here seeing this has seen something Pat has worked on without realizing just the broad talents he has. But this time around, we got a short film of Blindsided. This is one that I had the opportunity of seeing through the 2025 FilmQuest Film Festival, and it was nominated for Best Mini Movie and also for Best Sound. So, Pat, please tell us, what is Blindsided?
Well, thank you for having me once again. Always a pleasure to talk to you in person or on Zoom. Blindsided is a sci-fi horror short film. It's about a school teacher, Maria, who is woken up in the middle of the night when a spaceship crash lands outside her apartment building and unleashes a giant, scary alien monster. But what makes Blindsided a little different is Maria is blind and she can't see what's going on. She can only hear what's going on. And what makes the film unique is we stay kind of in her point of view, which is to say, we only hear what's going on just like she does. So the way we accomplish that is the film that kind of stays on her face. So it's visual in that we still follow her around and we kind of see what's going on, but mostly we see what's going on by her reactions to it because we stay on her as she kind of navigates this alien monster and the carnage that ensues. And it was a chance to do kind of kind of one of the tropes of the genre, right? The large alien monster attacking, kind of, which has been done in different ways with like Cloverfield or Quiet Place and so on, and kind of give it a different spin and use sound and our talents as sound editors to kind of tell the story in a unique way. And I always find that, I think sometimes it's scary when you can't really see what's going on, right? And, horror films usually are in the dark or darker areas, and we kind of do something similar in that we constrict to your point of view so that you are hearing what's going on, but you're not seeing it. And hopefully that makes it exciting and scary for an audience.
So, there's two things I think that really make this work well. One of them is the actor that you got as your lead. Um, Someone that actually fits. I don't want to say it's somebody acting to be blind, but somebody that actually is sight impaired. And
Yeah. Yeah.
and
So, yeah, her name's Crystal Lavero. And once we came up with the idea, it was the producer, who's also my wife, Anna Krista Johnson. She said, "Hey, we should try to cast someone who's." And I found out it was a learning experience. I actually submitted the film to Disability Belongs, and they came back with some suggestions on proper language to use in the script to accurately describe not only the character but some of the equipment that she uses in the film. And the proper term is low vision. So we got in touch through Disability Belongs with a casting director that specializes in diverse and disabled casting. And we auditioned only low vision actors for the role. And there's two voiceover actors in the film because we just hear their voices because again we're in her point of view, and we decided just to go all in. So they're also low vision actors as well. So the entire cast is low vision. So Crystal, when she doesn't wear her glasses, she's legally blind. She can't see. So she's acting, but in a way she's also not acting because since she's obviously not wearing her glasses when we filmed, she did have to. She was kind of unable to see through the filming.
I think that really shows quite the impact because it's all based
Yeah.
on her visual response. Now,
And just real quick,
yeah.
what I learned, what was great was I find that a lot of actors who can see overplay. They, you know what I mean? They kind of
Mhm.
overplay what they think it would be like to be blind or low vision. And so what I loved when we rehearsed with her was seeing it's a smaller, more intimate reaction, which I think plays more realistic because that's her reality. in real life. And because we were so close on her face, I think that played much better having that realism there. So yeah, I'm very happy with how it turned out. Thank you for noticing.
Yeah, it really impacted how I work with a low vision author all the time, and several people that are hearing impaired. So it's really nice
Mm-hmm.
to see how that played out and all that. But there is another aspect that was brought up in the Q&A that I think is just phenomenal about your film, and that is the process of how you ended up creating the film, almost going a little bit backwards than what most people think of in film create. You want to tell us how you did the sound and then used that?
Yeah, yeah. So once we came up with this concept of how it's going to be, what the film's going to be, and who we're going to cast, my next thought was, why not, the traditional way you do things is you write a script, you rehearse it, you cast it, you cast it, you rehearse it, then you film it, and then the sound is actually kind of done last. Like it's usually the very last thing done. And I thought, well, this film, the sound is so important because that's kind of how we're telling the whole story. Let's turn that on its head. And maybe it would be difficult for a lot of people to do that, but since sound is, kind of what I do when I'm not making my own films, I thought we could make it work, and we did. So what happened was, we after the script was done, I read the whole script out loud like a narrator and recorded that into the sound editing program I use, which is called Pro Tools. And then I built basically the framework of the whole film and sound like a radio play using just the tempo of me reading what was happening, and tweaked a couple things here and there for timing. What I thought would, I kind of just guessed in some places what I thought the timing of things would be. And I built this whole framework, and then I sent it to my co-sound designer, David Barbie, who helped me do Blindsided. And basically he had the script and he had my sketched out sound idea, if you will, of how it was going to go, and then he added a bit more detail to it and put in some of the things. I tasked him with really coming up with the creature design. I did some basic stuff, but then I said, go for it. Here's the script, here's how the monster is described, here's some sketches of what I think it looks like, go for it. And he kind of did that, and then so we basically built the whole thing in sound, and then I recorded those voiceover actors, their parts I recorded ahead of time as well, and I cut what I thought were going to be the best takes, and I cut that in as well. And then on set, when we actually filmed with Crystal, the actual film that you see, we did rehearsals without it, and we did a couple takes without it. But then once we kind of had the logistics in place and things, we actually played that sound back on set. And the takes that are in the film, she's actually reacting to the sound that we had cut, which is probably 80 to 90% of what you actually hear in the final. So she's hearing kind of what the audience is hearing. So she didn't have to pretend she was hearing a monster roaring out on the street and a person screaming. She didn't have to like pretend that she heard a gunshot suddenly, out on the street, or someone banging on her door. Like all that sound was actually, so what you're seeing is her reacting to the actual sound of this. So we did it backwards, but I think again, because we're so tight on her face, in addition to wanting to have someone who was really low vision to have that authenticity, I wanted her to be reacting in the moment to the truth of it and what it sounded like. And it was really cool because when we first, I don't know if we ended up using either the first or second take where she listened to it on set. We did more takes than that. Like I think we did 9 or 10 takes. The film's in long, like oneers. So the main one is 3 minutes long. And we did about 9 or 10 takes total. And it's an earlier take that we ended up using. There were some later takes where some of the technical stuff maybe was more perfect, but the performance of that early take where, we kind of had all the logistics worked out, but now she's reacting to the real sounds. And I didn't play it for her ahead of time either. She had read the script, so she knew, and again, and rehearsed everything, and she knew I have to be here at this point, I have to be here at this point, this is where I do this is where I do that. But she had never heard the monster or the people or the guns or any of that until we actually, it was like take 4 or 5. We're like, okay, we got it. Okay, now, boom, we play the sound. And even the crew, after that first take, the crew was all like, "Oh, okay, now we get like, because we're just, they're all paying attention to their little important piece of the puzzle, and then they're all sitting there watching the monitor, and seeing, and then they're like, and they're hearing it, they're hearing the speakers on set playing it back, and then they're all like, "Oh, this is scary." Like, good, if it's working for the crew, that's usually a good sign.
It's like when authors say, if you can scare yourself with your writing, you know it's working.
Exactly. Yeah. If you can make yourself, I got a little scared writing it and being like, oh, this moment the monster's going to be right there around the corner, but no one knows it, so yeah, that's good. It's always good. I would say if you can surprise yourself when you're writing a script, you're going to be able to surprise the audience.
Yeah. So
Same thing. Yeah.
yeah, I know when you were talking in the Q&A, they were saying that this is a short that you've done, but you're also looking at making this into a feature.
Yeah. So usually when I make a short, it's just a short, right? Like the other shorts that I've done, I could turn any of them into a feature, I guess, if I wanted to, right? But like none of them called to me as a feature film. They all called to me as a short film. Like this is a good short film to tell. And sometimes what makes a good short doesn't translate to a feature,
Yeah.
and vice versa. Um, this is one where I originally came up with the concept as a short, but as we were working on it, I was like, oh, but you know what? I see the whole I see the feature. Like I know where this goes next. Like you could take this 8-minute film and it could be the first 8 minutes of the feature because I know where it goes next. And I think people would enjoy, I mean, people love these kind of scary movies, and this is a different, puts a twist on it. It's very, people compare it to A Quiet Place, which I wholeheartedly accept because I love that film. It's just kind of the flip of it, right? It's the opposite of A Quiet Place, and that you're seeing everything, but everybody has to be quiet. And in our film, you don't see anything, and everybody's making sound because that's the only way she can communicate. She can't communicate silently. So yeah, I mean, I'd love to if we can figure out. I haven't written the script yet, but if I get enough interest and people, come to me, or if anybody wants to fund the feature version, um, I'm ready to go. I know exactly how to do it. Just need, features are more money, more people, more time, but I would love to.
Now, would you try to maintain the style of how you pulled this together, or maybe go a little bit more with traditional of doing the filming and then adding the sound?
I think the big set pieces, yeah, I don't think we could do, a 2 hour radio play. It wouldn't line up. But I think the 5 or 6 big moments in the film, which, the shortest kind of like one of those big moments. I think I would love to do that. And we're gonna have some tricks like she's a teacher at an academy for the blind, so there's other people in the film who are blind or low vision, and so we may not stay in her POV the whole time. We might jump to other people's POVs, and the school for the blind, there might also be the school for the deaf might be there, other disabilities, and we might be in different like the whole film will be told from different people's POVs, but they might not necessarily all be low vision. There could be dumping into the POV of someone who's deaf, the POV of someone who has some other disability, and because the feature film has a larger cast and you have more time to play with it, it might be an exploration of how lots of different people would experience an event like this from their different POVs. So there's going to be ways to open it up. I don't think it's a feature film where we stay on one person's face for an hour and a half is necessarily. I think for 8 minutes it's gripping and awesome, but we have a lot of things that we will do in the feature version that will keep it being novel and unique and something you haven't seen or heard before, but also not anything that after an hour gets kind of like it's just, I don't want to make a gimmick film, feature film. I want it to be something really engaging and something that says something about, people and how we treat people and, how we deal with one another and our differences.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Sounds
maybe
very
a lot of people get eaten by monsters too, to make it fun.
gotta have that part. Um, so
Yeah.
we're talking about what the film is and everything. So where did this germinate from? Where did this come from? This concept, this idea?
I mean, I'd like to think some sort of altruistic, like, oh, I just wanted to, raise other people's voices, and it became that eventually. But it completely started with, um, for those who don't know, I'm a supervising sound editor by day, so I do sound professionally for other people's films and TV shows,
Hmm.
day in and day out. So I know the sound world really well. My the films that I make as a writer director have mostly not had anything to do with me as a sound editor. They've just been ideas that came to me as a writer that I wanted to explore, and they've all had good sound because I do that for a living. So I can always make sure my films have good sound. I know how to do that. Other people hire me to do that for them on their projects, but I'd never done a film that specifically was like, well, let's dip into what I have access to from the day job. And so I was actually at FilmQuest in 2023, and
Hmm.
I was like, you know what, I need to do a film that really showcases what we can do, with the sound, which I'd never done that. And so I was like, what kind of idea? And I love making genre films, and I love sci-fi. Sci-fi is probably my favorite. That's most of my films have some sort of sci-fi component. They might be
Hmm.
sci-fi romance, sci-fi horror, sci-fi thriller, but most of them have sci-fi. So I was like, and I just suddenly came to me, what if we took kind of the standard alien monster trope story, but the character was blind and we told it from her POV? How would that look? Or more importantly, how would that sound? And I knew that that would showcase the sound, and then I just had to figure out how to still make it cinematic because I didn't want it to be, I guess theoretically the real POV would be, a black screen for 8 minutes, and no one, that's a radio play, which is great, but I still want it to be cinematic and have interesting visuals. And so then I came up with the idea of using the Snorri cam, which is this device where the camera is attached to the actor. So wherever the actor moves, the camera moves with them because it's literally attached to them. The actor's kind of the tripod. And once I came up with, oh, we just put it on, and then I was like, okay, so it'll be a oneer, and we're on her face the whole time, and wherever she turns, the camera turns with her. We'll still see a little bit of what's happening in the background, but it'll be kind of blurred, and it'll be just kind of little snippets, but we'll mostly be looking at her face and we'll see her react to everything. And horror films are great for that because there's lots of stuff for the actor to react to. So that's kind of how it all uh, came out. And then like I said, then once that was, then it was like, well, but also let's make this a film to allow um, actors who maybe normally wouldn't get roles like this to showcase um, their abilities and what they can do as actors. And then it became like something even better and bigger than the initial kind of very, uh, very, uh, you know, just an attempt to kind of meld all of the different talents that I have to showcase in one film. And hopefully people respond to it. I think, it's definitely a film where you've seen it in an audience in a theater with big sound and surround sound and a big screen. Really, even though it seems weird, even though it's tight on her face, seeing it up on a big screen with other people really, I think, changes how you react to the movie. And so when I've seen it with audiences, like they're really um, wowed by it because it is something that you don't normally see in here.
And I think you accomplished that because you did win the award for best sound in a short
Mission
film.
accomplished.
Mission accomplished. It was so impressive, and I'll tell people that. And I mean, this is I won't say it's a capstone of what you can do, but I mean, it's a very solid demonstration of someone who's been, I mean, I know you've been nominated multiple times for different levels of awards, all across for sound. And to now you've got that something saying, yep, this is what I do.
Yeah.
I want to say congratulations on that. So I do know that you're kind of in the midst of your festival run, and I know how festivals work. You can't always say anything about what's coming up, but I do
Yeah.
know there's some future possibilities on the festival.
Yeah, so we started we premiered in LA, which is where I live, which so that was nice. Like it gave a chance for the cast and crew to get to go see it. So we did a couple of LA festivals, and then we did a couple of the big, the two maybe two of the bigger North American genre festivals in Nightmares and Columbus, and then what I call the granddaddy of genre festivals, FilmQuest, and also Chicago. So we kind of did the middle. I can't announce it yet, but we'll be heading to the East Coast next
Okay.
for the East Coast premiere. And then we kind of have some things we're waiting to hear about in the Northeast, and then we have some things after that maybe Europe and up into Canada. So we kind of started. It just timed out right to start kind of where we were, and then just slow. So we've kind of like West Coast, Midwest. Next will be East Coast, then hopefully around the world, and then we already have two, again, can't talk about, we have two streaming offers already on the table, which really showed me that, yeah, this is unique and something that people would respond to because it's different. So I have other films that have had streaming offers and gone on streaming, but not this fast. And I actually had to say, like, yes, that's exciting, but I can't do it yet because I haven't even finished expanding it out into film festivals. And, a lot of film festivals obviously don't want films to
Yeah.
be available to the public yet. So I have to hold off on letting the general public see it while we do some more of these uh, festivals. And then if there is interest in the feature, there's there becomes that issue of decide of, do you protect the feature by limiting who gets to see the short? If there is no feature in play at that point, then I'll put it out. But if there's a feature in place, they might say, let's hold off on letting people see the short because we want them to be excited about the feature instead. That's all conjecture at this point, but it's
Yeah.
good to know that people are responding to it, and it's um, getting into some great festivals and great audiences and great venues to see it at. And then I think it'll be it'll be available for the general public on streaming, or if it isn't, it's only be because there's a feature in the works. So either way, right, would be a good problem to have.
So how can people follow you so they can find out where it might be actually being able
Thank you.
to see the film?
So the website for the production company that my wife and I have is called John Hog Danger Productions, and the website's very easy. It's jhdanger.com. So J is in Johnson, H is in Hogan, jhdanger.com. We usually put up everything there. Sometimes we're behind, but typically everything's up there. Links, any films that are available for the public to view are there, and then any information on screenings are usually there. And then on social media, I'm on Instagram at P Patrick Hogan, and that's kind of where I post if you my musings plus any, like, probably that's the first place I'll post anything because it's just easy to post on Instagram, right? So at P Patrick Hogan on Instagram gets you the immediate information about what's going on with the film.
Yeah. So I know in the past we've talked about why you got into film, why you got into sound, different things. So I'm not going to go back over those because we can always just tell people go back and find the earlier interview.
Yeah, it's there.
But, you know, uh, besides this work here with Blindsided, do you have anything else in the works that you're kind of looking at doing, or are you kind of in between projects?
So blindsided is probably, I mean, never say never. Typically, I have an idea of what I'm going to do next, while working on the one before, right? Because you always have to have things going. And I didn't plan, so I've made four short films in a row. Uh, virtually sci-fi romance, killing time, sci-fi horror. Quiet Mom's Working, horror comedy, and then Blindsided, sci-fi horror. Um, None of them follow the other than that it was the idea that spoke to me that, like, you have to make this next, right? This is, so it popped up in my head, you have to make this thing next. So I've made these four short films, but I've been wanting to get back into doing another feature film, which has been a while since I did these short. I started making these short films as a way to get back into filmmaking and meet people and, connect with people and, be ready to take that next step up. And so obviously there's the Blindsided feature. I didn't know that Blindsided people have really responded to it. But independently from that, I've been working on two feature films. Well, I'm taking that back. I've been working on four feature films. Two of them are large budget films that I just can't do by myself. I have to get, and I've had people, I've had some people show interest in one of them's already written, one's just outlined, and those require bringing on bigger partners with deeper pockets. And then I have two feature films that are low budget, and one of them is extremely low budget. And I have a producer on board, and I can't get into details. It's not genre; it's horror, but like real world horror. Nothing supernatural, or it's. I think it's about school shootings, which to me is like the most horrific thing that we have going on in our country right now, and what we're doing to our kids. So it's a very hard film for me to do, but I'm like, I think I have to do it. I think I need to make that statement. And I think I have the financing in place to do that. So we're hoping next summer, to shoot this film. It's called 3. And then hopefully springboard out of that into the other one, which is still low budget, but it's a sci-fi romance action film. So it's not quite as serious as 3 is, but it has a bit more. It needs a bigger budget. So the idea was, do the really small one, prove that we can make something. You constantly have to prove yourself, right? So I could prove I can make a short film. I could prove I can make a short film that wins awards. I can prove I can make a short film that has interest and to turn it into a feature. Obviously, I've proved that I can do post production and so I've set up steps. So next up, we'll be doing a low budget feature, hopefully 3 next year, and then from that move into the next one. But if any of the really really what I call when I say big budget, that's still not like Hollywood big budget. I mean just big budget. Big budget for me is any film that adds a 7th digit to the budget, if you know what I mean, right? Like those, like I can't personally raise that kind of money, right? But I found a way to raise the money for this first one, for 3, which is I think it's an important topic to tackle, because I find the most horrific things aren't ghosts and ghouls and goblins, but what's really happening in the real world is the most scary thing for me.
I agree. I agree on that. I think we've proven humans are the scariest monster that we've encountered.
Oh, absolutely, exactly, and yeah, and that's what this movie would be. So I guess it's genre, and that it's very scary.
Yeah, that works. And I just want to mention, the first film of yours I reviewed was virtually, and then
Yeah,
Killing Time, and then Quiet Mom's
Quiet Mom's
Working, and now this one. So I've been able to watch this whole progression you were just talking about, and it's been just a fun ride to see the differences of what you've been able to create. So
yeah. I've been really lucky. 4 for 4 at FilmQuest and virtually, which I was at a festival in Miami, and I met a gentleman who was like, "Oh, I run a film festival." And of course, when you hear that kind of stuff at a festival, you're like, "Sure, yeah, of course you
Mhm.
do, sure." And he gave me his card and said, "You should submit virtually to my film festival." And I was like, "Okay, you're polite." And then I looked it up, and I was like, "Oh, holy smokes, this is legit. This is the real deal." And it was FilmQuest. And since then, I've attended every film quest except the one that was canceled for COVID. But other than that, I've been to every single one, whether I had a film or not. And that's, of course, where I met you, and you did your first review. So
Yep.
and that's what's great about making short films is short films are all about the networking and the connections and building. Like I have a team of people here in LA that I've met to help me now do the features, but I've also met a lot of people out and press and all the different things that you need when you can't just throw money at things, right? You need connections and people who recognize what you're doing and want to support what you're doing because they know that you have a track record of doing good things.
Yeah, I'll admit, as I was doing research kind of for this interview, I was looking up some of the stuff on IMDb and seeing your connections with the other people at FilmQuest, either working on their
Yeah,
sound or them now working in your film, and and back and forth. It's really that collaboration aspect is it's amazing. I mean, it really is impressive
yeah.
because
Thank
um,
you. Yeah.
I was going to say last year one of the top winners was Sweet Molly, and you did the sound on Sweet Molly. Um,
Hmm.
and just your film before that had the person that had been in he's a writer, movie maker, actor, and you
Yeah.
brought him over and do your film. And it's really
Yeah.
fun to watch. So,
Yeah. Shane was Best Actor at FilmQuest 2022, which is where I met him.
yep.
Yeah, that's how it goes. This year at FilmQuest, I had six films that I did the sound on, including my own, which is a record. It probably will not ever be that way again. But just this one time, it just so happened that there were six films I did the sound on there.
But I think that really speaks volumes to the quality of your work. Um,
Oh, thank you.
because, the one thing I will say this, kind of promoting FilmQuest because I kind of work with them so much. This past year, they had approximately about 3,500 short films submitted. So
Crazy.
to have that number make it through, that's, congratulations on that level.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah, it's. I was going to say it's great. The cost of getting into making filmmaking has never been lower, right? I mean, the phone in your pocket is better than what anybody had 20 years ago. No one had anything as good as what you have in your pocket, right? Um, and so there's a everybody can make a film now, which is great. But the bad news is everybody can make a film. So now the people who have exceptional talent have to really raise their level to stand out amongst a sea of films. And when you go to FilmQuest, you see that. Those are the
yeah,
people you see at FilmQuest or some of the other top film festivals, and it's amazing. And I think the number of films has pushed everybody to raise their game because I still feel like every year the films at FilmQuest are even better, not just from a technical standpoint, but just from like a story and acting. Like everything just gets better and better and better.
yeah. And that's me. As a writer, I'm always looking at the story of and I've had some good talks with like Jonathan and some of the others where we'll be watching a film together while it's playing, and he'll just go, God, that one could have been cut, don't you think? And I was like, oh yeah. They really cheated the ending there.
Well,
So
it's
we
I
get
mean,
into
it's
that.
very telling. Those four short films, everyone's been shorter. Like every film's been shorter because I recognize that especially on a short film, leave them wanting more is always a good thing.
Yeah. You don't need to say something three times.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah,
in the past, I've asked
short
you,
film, say it once.
yep. So in the past, I've asked you about advice, to if someone came up to you and said, I want to get in filmmaking. And the advice you gave before was make sure you have good quality sound. And, you've proved it with this one. Do you have any other points of advice that you would give someone after they've got their good
Yeah,
sound equipment?
get yeah, do good sound. Um, well, the first thing is that it's awfully hard to make a film by yourself. So find people, collaborate with people, work on other people's projects and find people that you like. So the last two films that I've shot, the DP on them, his name is James Suter. He did Quiet Moms Working and he did Blindsided, and he knocked it out of the park on both. Both super low budget. I'm hoping he'll do the features and I'll be able to give him a bigger budget to play with. But we both met working on someone else's project. I was sound and he was the key grip slash best boy. Pretty much he was the entire grip department. And we really hit it off, even though we weren't working together. Like obviously he was setting up lights and stands, and I was doing the sound work. But I got to see how he worked, and I just got to know him as a person, and I think he got to know me. And then when I was looking for someone to be the DP on this next short, he was one of the people I reached out to because I knew that we would work together well on set because we had already worked together in other capacities on a different set. And I knew how he held himself and how he went about things. And I knew he did it the way that I like to do it. So finding those people, I think, is key. because the fact is, very few people are going to come out of the gate and make their first short, especially, or even feature, and have the money to like just hire like the top professionals in town or wherever you live in each of those fields, right? So you're going to have to find people who are working their way up like you are, and finding those people. And especially, like, I knew he was a great key grip, so I knew that he'd probably be a good DP, right? And so I gave him a chance to do more. I gave him a chance to level up. And so finding people who you can give them that chance to level up, and get their first chance to do whatever the next step up is is a great way to meet people. But also then you can see how it works. So they're doing construction two doors down. Hopefully it's not too loud here.
No, I'm not
Like
hearing any of
perfect.
it.
Okay, good, good, good. Uh, okay, good. I wasn't sure if you could hear. They're pouring cement two doors down from where I am. So finding that, and then I would just say, to me, when I see first, the other thing is just make films and be okay to fail. Like it's okay to make a short film that like doesn't get accepted into film festivals and you know do all the stuff when you're starting. Like if you may, I've made short films that have never gone anywhere. Like when I was young, right? Like I made some short films that I just made just to make films and learn how to make films. Like don't wait until it's perfect, or you might never make a film. If you want to make films, and the first couple, might suck, but that's how you learn. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't wait until everything is perfect to make a film. And if you have a script that's special to you, maybe don't make that first. Make some other films and explore who you are as a filmmaker and meeting those people. And then once you're kind of know what you're doing and you have those people that you can trust who will come through for you and actually show up when they say they're going to show up and roll with the punches, then maybe you make that script that's special to you. And then lastly, uh, I would place visuals like honestly fourth on my list of importance. Uh, and everybody wants to like have the lighting look perfect in the visuals, and they want to get the best camera they can. But I would say sound, production design, and acting, and then your visuals. Because to me, I see a lot of short films and hear a lot of short films that like look beautiful because they shot with these new great cameras that aren't that expensive, but they have bad sound. They don't have good production design, and the acting isn't. They've cast their friends as opposed to the best actors they can get within whatever community they live in. Just because your apartment is free to film in doesn't necessarily mean it's the best look for what you're going to shoot, right? White walls are horrible on film, and most homes have white walls. So going that extra mile to finding a place that has that visually rich, interesting look for your film goes a long way, more maybe even than like buying some amazing lights and doing great lighting. And then no matter how good your words are that you've written on the page, if you don't have good actors who can actually perform those words authentically, you know, you're you're not doing your film justice. So also go that extra mile to get good actors. All four of my short films, I've signed SAG contracts for them, which is more work, but it allowed me to get the actors that I wanted for those films. So it would have been, yeah, it would have been easier to not have to sign a SAG contract and do all that extra paperwork and all that extra work and all the things that go along with it. But then maybe I don't have films that are as good because I don't have the actors that were the best for the role.
Okay. I want to thank you for being with me. We've been here chatting for just about a half hour, just a little bit over. But I mean, it's been a great conversation. I want to thank everybody for joining us. If you like what's happening here, please share it out to people that you think would like to find out more about Blindsided and the other work that Patrick's does. Like I said, check out his work. I think a lot of people would be surprised just to see just the scope of everything that you've done. Uh, and I'll leave it with, do you have any final words you'd like to say to everybody?
No, hey, thank you everybody out there who's supporting independent film. Nobody does independent film that isn't doing it for the love of making films and the love of sharing it with audiences. So anybody who's watching, thank you so much for supporting, the journalists and the writers and the filmmakers who are doing this because we're doing it for you guys. Thank you.
All right. So until next time, we'll talk to everybody then. Have a great time.
Thank you so much.